Are you tired? I mean, sick and tired of putting everybody else's opinions first? Are you tired of caring about what everybody else's think to the point where it actually gets you sick, right? If that's you, then this video is for you, because in this video, we'll be talking about how to stop giving the F about what everybody else says. Coming up. Hey, I was jamming for a minute. What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy G Mac in the building at G Smooth Mindset TV. Today, we're doing a book summary. I don't know if you guys know this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. From my boy, Mark Manson. I've read this book a few years ago. I don't really remember exactly, but it was in the beginning of my personal growth journey. I believe around 2000. I think I read this one in 2018, the very first time. But it's a very powerful book. I really love the author and especially his perceptions and how he communicates his ideas. And I've been wanting to do a video on this book forever. I was just putting it off. And when I was ready to do it, I've actually found that he made its own summary video about the book. So I was like, all right, let me just use that and use that for my video. So what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna put it here. So we're all gonna watch it together, and then I'm gonna add my take. I'm also gonna tell you guys how these ideas impacted myself personally and how I've used them. And yeah, we'll be talking about it. But this video is going to be in two parts. The first part is going to be on YouTube and Facebook. So for the first 10 to 15 minutes, these will be posted on Facebook. And if you want to go deeper with me with the second part, join the group. www.facebook.com/groups/smooth winners. www.facebook.com/groups/smooth winners. The link is also in the description. So if you want to watch the full video, and if you want to watch if you want to watch the full video, get in the group, because the second part will be in there. Only the first part will be posted on YouTube. All right, so let's not waste time. Let's just get rolling. Mr. Mark, let's go.
What's up, everybody? Mark Manson here, #1 New York Times best-selling author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's funny, I was actually looking around YouTube and Google, and I found that dozens of people have posted summaries of my book. Well, fuck you. If there's gonna be a summary of the book, it should come from the master non-fuck-giver himself, moi. So gather around, children. Prepare yourselves as I take you chapter by chapter through this modern self-help masterpiece. So before I actually get into the book and kind of summarize each chapter in a few minutes, I want to zoom out a little bit and just tell you briefly what my goal is by writing this book. First of all, contrary to most people's perceptions, the book is not about not caring about things. In fact, it's about the opposite of that. It makes the argument that you have to give a fuck about something. Therefore, the most important question is, what are you giving a fuck about and why? Now, that's a pretty cute little concept on the surface, and I think it's why a lot of people bought the book or enjoyed the book initially. But my goal with this book is that it's essentially a book about values. I very intentionally wanted to be contrarian to the self-help industry. Most self-help takes for granted what your values are. It takes for granted what your definition of success is. It assumes you want a big mansion and a fancy car and a perfect...
Let me stop right there for a minute. I wanted to stop right there because that is very important what he said. He talked about values and then he talked about the definition of success, because these two, especially for me, these are like these are like the GPS. Like whatever goal you're trying to reach, whatever thing you're trying to get, the values that you have will dictate how you execute, will dictate how you roll, will dictate how you walk, will dictate how you talk, will dictate literally the level of success that you get. Even the type of woman that you would date, the type of woman that you get as a wife, based on your values. When you have your set core of values really put together, then whoever doesn't fit into that window, that person is already out. Whether it's a girl, whether it's a business partner, if you don't fit into my set of values, then you don't even get a ride. You don't even get a seat on the ride, bro. You're already out. So that is very important, and having your own personal definition of success. That's why a lot of times when we try, I remember my bachelor's degree when I graduated, I was very unhappy because for a lot of different reasons, but a big part, I actually thought that getting the degree was kind of the success that was what was really making me successful, right? But it wasn't really my definition of it. It was something a little bit different. But my point is, when society or everybody else define what really success means to you, and a lot of times when you get that, it's like, okay, that's why a lot of people have money but are not really happy, because they never really defined what really made them happy, right? So this is very, very powerful. I just wanted to stop here for a minute. Let's go back.
Marriage with 3.5 kids in a guitar-shaped swimming pool. Most self-help books just assume that we all want the same thing. Whereas in my book, I wanted to point out that a lot of these cultural definitions of success, a lot of these cultural values, may not be the right fit for us. And so the real important question of getting ahead in life or improving our lives is not necessarily figuring out how to accomplish every single goal we have. It's more in asking, what sorts of goals should we have in the first place? What sorts of things should we give a fuck about? So you'll see as we go through it that there are a lot of points in the book where I'm very intentionally contradicting most typical self-help advice. Part of this I'm doing for effect. It's to grab people's attention and to make them think a little bit more critically about some of their assumptions. But some of it is legitimate. Some of it I do strongly believe is more correct than the general self-help advice out there. So without further ado, let's get into it. Chapter 1, Don't Try. I start the book off with a story about Charles Bukowski. He was a very famous fiction and poetry writer, but he was a total drunk. He was a lowlife. He was in and out of prison. He had drug problems. He had prostitute problems. I mean, he was a total mess. I actually wanted to open the book with him because he is kind of a counter argument to most of the examples that you see in books like this. You know, you're used to opening a book about how to improve your life and seeing a story about like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or something like that. And I wanted to start with Bukowski because it shows that you can actually become conventionally successful in life despite yourself. You can become successful while seemingly doing all of the wrong things and committing all of the biggest errors. So even beginning on the first page, I'm starting to undermine the reader's assumed definition of what success is or what is a good life or a desirable life for themselves. Now, the big idea to take away from chapter 1, and this is the most underlying thing in the book and one of the most underlying things on Amazon Kindle ever, is something called the backwards law. And the backwards law originally comes from Alan Watts, but I rephrase it in my own way. And I say that the pursuit of positive experience is itself a negative experience, and the acceptance of a negative experience is itself a positive experience. So I go on and give a number of examples of the backwards law. I say that the idea is that the more that you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, as pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. The more desperately you want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you will feel, regardless of how much money you have. The more desperately you want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you will come to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you will become, regardless of those who surround you. The more you wish to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get there. I then follow that up with, it's like that one time I tripped on acid and it felt like the more I walked towards the house, the farther away the house got from me. It's good times, good times. So the backwards law introduces the central theme of the book, which is that negativity is actually the path to positivity. Most people's assumption is they just want the positive experiences from life, but it's actually the tolerance and acceptance of the negative experience that leads to the positive.
Let me stop right there. That was real, man. Because it's kind of like success and failure. Because a lot of times we all want that successful part without the failure. We all want the degree without the hard work in class. We all want the private jet lifestyle without putting 10 to 20 years of groundwork, right? And I don't remember where I've learned that, but it's like success is whatever success you're trying to get, it's like the same the two sides of the coin, because your success is the coin. If you want to have that coin, if success is one side of the coin, if you really want to have success, there is no way you can have success without the other side, right? So in order to have this side, which is success, you cannot take it out of the coin. So if you want success, then you need to have the coin. So if you want the coin, if you want success, then you got to have it all, man. And that's what he's saying. We got to accept that negativity is the path to that positivity that you really want. It's kind of like the idea of, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was telling me that a lot of times people don't really get into the comfort zone because they didn't really have breakthrough yet, which I technically agree, because a lot of times you need to hit rock bottom. It has, like, I can make 1,000 videos for you guys, and a lot of you guys will still don't understand, or will still don't get it, because you never really had a really negative experience, a really painful experience, a really hurtful experience, something that really like broke broke you through the bones, man. So sometimes, unless you get that kind of a traumatic experience or really hardcore failure, a lot of times it's really, really hard to get out of that comfort zone, because I never really been, I'm chilling, man. I'm comfortable. So negativity a lot of times is the path to breaking through positivity and breaking through becoming the best version of yourself. I just wanted to add that in there.
Experience. And I will end up spending pretty much the entire book expanding upon this. So I go on to finish chapter 1 by introducing the give a fuck framework. And I have 3 subtleties of not giving a fuck. So subtlety number 1 is not giving a fuck does not mean being indifferent. It means being comfortable with being different. One point that I make throughout the book and I dispel very early on is that indifference is impossible. If you give a fuck about nothing, then you are giving a fuck about nothing. It is impossible to not give a fuck about something. Therefore, the question is, what do you give a fuck about? And kind of the conclusion that arises is that if you give a fuck about a few very important things, then the small things cease to bother you so much. Subtlety number 2 is to not give a fuck about adversity. You must first give a fuck about something more important than adversity. So if you're always worrying about what people think about you, the problem is not what people think about you. The problem is you don't have anything better to worry about. If you're always worried about how much money you have, the problem is not how much money you have. The problem is that you don't have anything better to worry about. Subtlety number 3, whether you realize it or not, you are always choosing what to give a fuck about. This concept of choosing will come back in force in chapter 5. Pretty much the entire chapter is about it. All right, so that's chapter 1. Kind of lays the groundwork. Starts off very contrarian, drops a lot of F-bombs. A lot of people like that, some people don't. Chapter 2 is called Happy.
Yeah, let me be in your face for a minute, man. I love what he said. Then I was writing down choice. Give a fuck about something. Have something to give a fuck about. Have better things to give a fuck about. And choice, right? That coming back to the values and coming back to self-esteem, it's very important to start learning and understanding our own self, how we work, how we operate as a human being, right? How we operate as a person. That allows you to really understand who you are and then start valuing more of you, giving more F's about these things that you care about. Because that's what he's saying. A lot of times we care too much about what everybody else is saying because we don't have enough to care about. Right? We don't have enough to care about. We put our hobbies to the side. We put our passions to the side. It's not really about making money from your passion. Don't worry about that yet. You're not going to make any money from your passion until you become really, 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 really good at it and you build a customer base. But my point is, doing the things that makes you happy, doing the things that you're passionate about, doing the activities that you like, that's what really creates the happiness for you. And the more you care about these things that you value, the less you care about what everybody else is thinking. Because you can always choose, right? And that comes to what I talk about almost all the time, consciousness, right? The law of polarity. We can always decide. There is up and down, left and right, in and out. Which way do you go? You always have a choice. You can always pick. So this was very important. Give a F about something. Have better things to give a F about. And choice. You always got the choice. Always, always, always got the choice. Let's hit that chapter 2, man.
Happiness is a problem. So chapter 2 opens up with the story of the Buddha and focuses on the central Buddhist doctrine of dukkha, or the fact that life is suffering. That no matter what you do, where you go, who you hang out with, what you pursue, there is some facet of suffering associated with it, simply because our mind becomes attached to things and attachment leads to suffering. But instead of kind of going down the Buddhist rabbit hole with it, I take it off in another direction and I explain, I say, it's not like we're doomed to suffer. It's that suffering has a certain evolutionary usefulness to it. Like if you think about evolution over the course of hundreds of thousands of years, a creature that is happy all the time, that creature is not going to survive. It's actually the creature that is a little bit dissatisfied all the time, a little bit anxious all the time, a little bit paranoid, a little bit pissed off with the people around them. Like that's the creature that's going to do the most work to actually survive and replicate. I think this modern idea that we shouldn't have to feel bad ever is completely misguided. Not only is it misguided, but it goes against our evolutionary nature, our genetic nature. Negative emotions have an inherent purpose to them and they help us. And so a lot of this chapter is describing how a lot of the anxiety that we wish to escape from or the anger we wish to overcome, these emotions are actually signals within our body to do something. They are important signals, and if we ignore them or if we train ourselves to ignore them, then we are actually limiting ourselves in a lot of ways. I also talk about a psychology concept called the hedonic treadmill, this idea that happiness it's like a treadmill. It's like, you think if I get a boat, I'll be happy. And then you get the boat and it's like you've got to pay docking fees. And you're like, man, if I could just find a better dock, I'd be happy. And then you find a better dock. Then you realize that none of your friends want to drive out to that new dock. You're like, man, if I could just have some friends to hang out on my boat, then I'd be happy. And then you get friends on your boat, but then they get too drunk and they fall overboard and you have to like throw in life preservers and save them and call the Coast Guard. And you're like, man, if I didn't have to call the Coast Guard, then I'd be happy. And it's like, happiness it's like this carrot always dangling in front of you, no matter what you do. So if the point of chapter 1 is to kind of undermine our expectations about positive and negative experience, chapter 2's point is to undermine our expectations about positive and negative emotion. Negative emotions have a lot of utility, they have a lot of purpose, they help us, they grant us meaning in a lot of situations, and they signal to us that we have challenges or problems that must be overcome. Happiness is great. We all want to be happy. It's not the only thing in life. There are bad forms of happiness. Doing cocaine all day, that'll make you happy for a while. It doesn't mean you should go do it. Serial killers seem to be very pleased with themselves while they're killing people over and over again. Doesn't mean they should do it. The emotions themselves are not necessarily good or bad. It's the context around them. It's the meaning around them. And so I end up kind of creating this framework where I say that happiness comes from solving problems. If you either pretend you have no problems in your life to solve, then you won't be happy. But if you also have problems in your life that you feel you can't solve, then you won't be happy. So kind of the secret sauce is finding problems that you kind of want to have or kind of enjoy having. And that's how I wrap up the chapter with a section called Choose Your Struggle. And I'll actually read the first couple paragraphs of that section because it's one of the most important sections of the book and it's resonated with a lot of people. So if I ask you, what do you want out of your life? And you say something like, I want to be happy and have a great family and a job I like, your response is so common and expected that it doesn't mean anything. Everybody enjoys what feels good. Everybody wants to live a carefree, happy, and easy life, to fall in love and have amazing sex and relationships, to look perfect and make lots of money and be popular and well-respected and admired. Everybody wants that. It's easy to want that. A more interesting question, a question that most people never consider is, what pain do I want in my life? What am I willing to struggle for? Because that actually seems to be a greater determinant of how our lives turn out. Fucking sweet. All right, chapter 3, one of my favorite chapters. You
already know I was gonna stop right there, man. Actually, that next chapter, you're not special, that's a very powerful idea because it's something that when I get into conversation with people, we get into a lot of heat because you're not special, right? I mean, we'll talk about it, but let me get back to chapter 2. What he was saying was the negative emotions are important in signaling something, control the meaning, and happiness comes from solving problems, right? That's like kind of like, do you guys know how we say face the fear and rise, or face the fear and run, or feel the fear and rise, or feel the fear and run? A lot of times when you're scared of a situation, he said negative emotions mean something. That fear, a lot of times in that moment, depending on whatever things it is, I'm not saying go stand next to a rooftop and then you scared and then jump. No. When you want to go for something that you want, when you want to talk to the girl that you like, when you want to go for the deal, when you want to ask for the sale, and you have this fear in your body, a lot of times that fear is an indication that, hey dude, you should do it, bro. You should do it, man. That's why he's talking about meaning. Control the meaning. You got to be able to put yourself in the position where you can control the meaning. And coming back to what I was saying earlier, you can choose because you always have that ability to choose. So when you see that girl that you like, and then you get the fear in your body or whatever, understand that, hey, that actually means that I should go talk to her. Because when you go talk to her, whether you get her or not, just the fact that you acted on something that you wanted to do, that's growth. And that's how you grow, one action at a time. You wanted to make this video, you were a little scared, you had a lot of these emotions in your body. Oh my God, this is crazy, I'm gonna die. That actually means that if you do that thing, growth. If you do that thing, growth. If you do that thing, growth. And that's how you grow, right? I wanted to add that in there. And happiness comes from solving problem. Because if that thing is a little problem for you, solving that by taking actions will make you happier. And the more you do that, I always say that I'm happier when I'm productive. I'm happier when I'm actually getting things done. That's just me. I don't know about you. Actually, comment down below. How do you get happier? Which one is it for you? Comment down below. For me, it's a lot of different things, but one of it, getting things done, man. I love getting things done, bro. You don't even know. So that was chapter 2. Now chapter 3. And again, after chapter 3, we'll be going in the group. So for everybody that's watching on YouTube and Facebook, if you want to watch the remaining chapters, you need to jump in the group. I'll repeat that again: www.facebook.com/groups/small winners. The link is in the description, so you can click there and join the group for the remaining. But let's go on chapter 3.
Are not special. You're not. Nobody is. So you are not special. It opens up with a story of a guy I knew named Jimmy. Jimmy is actually, he's a kind of a composite of two different people I knew, but Jimmy is basically, he's a con man, essentially. Like pathological liar, schemer, bullshit artist, 24/7 salesman. I knew him for about a year in my mid-20s, back when I was starting my first business, and he was starting a number of businesses too. And the dude, he was just a grifter, total lowlife, wasted money left, right, and center. And so I tell this story about Jimmy, and I use him as an example for a concept I introduce of entitlement. I define entitlement in the book as feeling as though you deserve to be happy without sacrificing for it. It's basically that idea of believing you deserve to have positive experiences without traversing the negative experiences to get there. I spent much of this chapter pointing out, both from stories about Jimmy, but also stories of me being a dickhead in my own life, that it's this belief that we shouldn't have to go through the negative and only have the positive that causes us to adopt many destructive and selfish behaviors. So the middle of the chapter is the story about how I got arrested for selling drugs. If you want to hear about that, you should buy the book. So here you go. There are two forms of entitlement. Form number one is, I'm awesome and the rest of you all suck, therefore I deserve to have special treatment. Form number two is, I suck and the rest of you are awesome, so I deserve special treatment. So in the psychological research, this is known as grandiose narcissism versus victim narcissism. And it's basically, they seem to be opposites on the surface. Like one person thinks he's better than everybody and then the other person thinks he's worse than everybody. But the behavior ends up being the same because both people have delusional beliefs about their place in the status hierarchy. One person thinks he's at the top, one person thinks he's at the bottom. But the behavior ends up being the same. They end up being completely self-absorbed. They think everything in the world should be altered and catered to them. And yeah, they just become unbearable to be around. And so I spend much of this chapter, probably the second half of this chapter, describing how the growing culture of exceptionalism, particularly with social media, consumer culture, things like that, they're always pushing us individually. Like if you think of beer commercials or like, you know, the way Facebook algorithms are designed, like everything is designed to make you feel like you're the most special fucking person on the planet. And my argument is that that is actually mentally and socially unhealthy because that drives an attitude and a feeling of entitlement. It creates delusional beliefs that you are somehow the exception, that the world owes you something, that everything should be rearranged to cater to your desires and your happiness, that you should be able to have positive experiences without accepting the negative. I close out the chapter by using a metaphor that I really like. I'll just read a couple paragraphs. All of this quote, every person can be extraordinary and achieve greatness stuff, is basically just jerking off your ego. It's a message that tastes good going down, but in reality is nothing more than empty calories that make you emotionally fat and bloated. The proverbial Big Mac for your heart and your brain. The ticket to emotional health, like that to physical health, comes from eating your veggies. That is, accepting the bland and mundane truths of life. Truths such as your actions actually don't matter that much in the grand scheme of things, and the vast majority of your life will be boring and not noteworthy, and that's okay. This vegetable course will taste bad at first, very bad, but once ingested, your body will wake up feeling more potent and alive. So that's chapter 3. Chapter 4, the value of suffering.
Man, entitlement. Entitlement. The thing is, this is a funny idea because it's kind of like, you know how even even with the woman, man, a lot of these girls today, I mean, the woman idea comes to my mind because I was talking to a friend about it this morning. A lot of women today are very entitled just because they're women, because that's kind of what, just like you was saying, a lot of everything makes you feel special, right? Like the whole world today is making the woman so special just because she's a woman. So a lot of them feel like they're entitled to having a millionaire without working on themselves, right? And for a lot of guys, in many ways, it's also the same thing. But my point is that idea of you're not special, it's kind of like how I say, like we're all humans. So if I am special, then you are special. If I'm not special, then you're not special because we are the same, right? My point is coming back to the idea of wanting the positive experience without sacrificing or without the negative experience, especially our millennial generation, man. Even the generations before, people in general, a lot of times we want the end goal without putting the work, or wanting to cut corners, or wanting to jump steps. Like a lot of girls today, they just want to go get a rich guy, and you just gotta accept me just the way you are. Like you ain't gotta change a little bit, uh improve and becoming the best version of yourself. I just gotta take you just because you're a woman. A lot of guys want to become millionaires. They want to ride in private jets. They want to do all of these things, and they want this yesterday, or they want it tomorrow. Like a lot of times, I mean, I've been in that mindset too, but not at that level. Like for real, man, not at that level. But the thing is, right now it's so disproportionate because of social media. We can really see how the rich people are living, but nobody saw exactly what was going on and all of the steps that they had to do in order to get there, right? So coming back to his point with the entitlement, we all gotta understand that, like, if you heard somewhere that that guy was successful and it took him 30 years to get to that exact level, what makes you think that it's gonna take you less than that? It might actually, if I want to go on a little tangent, it might, because of social media, if you make the right moves, or if you go learn from his mistakes, it will take you less time. But is it gonna take you 5 years to get to that level of 30 years? Nah, bro. Nah, man. I don't think so. So we really need to start reframing and really understanding that this This stuff is real, man. Whatever you're trying to do, if you really want to get to that level, that high level that everybody wants, this is a lifetime commitment. Like, you guys need to understand that it's a lifetime commitment. All of you guys talking about wanting to be millionaire, I already know that, so I'm not worried. I already know that whatever goal I'm trying to get is gonna take me my whole life, man. So I'm chilling. I'm just doing what I need to do at the level where I'm at right now, and then I'll get to the next step, and then I'll get to the next step, and then I'll get to the next step. So I've learned that these past years. That's what I'm telling y'all. Understand that whatever goal you're trying to have, I'm talking to all of y'all that want to be rich, not those that want to be normal. That's okay. But all of y'all are talking about being rich. Oh, we gotta get to the top. Oh, see you at the top. Oh, blah 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 at the top. You wanna get to the top? It's a lifetime commitment, bro. Understand that. Don't be entitled to the idea that you deserve getting to the top, because you will only deserve it if you put in the work. Everybody is able, everybody has the right to dream, to be rich. But are you willing to put in the work, the lifetime work to get there? Because a lot of times you forget that if you want to become a billionaire, for example, by the time you get to the $1 billion or the $1 billion company, you will have money. You will earn some money. So you might, before you even become a millionaire, you might get to the point where you don't even have to worry about your bills. Like, you're good. It's just that you haven't reached your goal yet. So my point is, whatever you fix whatever your goal that fix is, in between the time that you get there, you probably start getting being good, right? But it's not gonna happen if you don't understand that it's gonna take a lifetime, and it's gonna take the sacrifices, and it's gonna take you 10 billion failures in order to get there. That's all I'm saying, bro. And for the rest of the chapters, like I was saying, join us in the group www.facebook.com/groups/smooth winners. Link in the description. And Facebook, the Facebook page and the YouTube page. We'll see y'all in the group. That